Kurt Signetti said, Google's statement win. Indiana with a massive victory over Oregon is probably the headline of the day, but there's so many others as well. FSU loses for the third time in a row. Crazy roller coaster ride for FSU fans. And just because nobody wants to drink alone, Penn State said, hold my beer, I will match you. Those are among a ton of games, and we still have 3 games going on tonight. Welcome to the first edition of the College Football Express Midnight Express wrap-up show. We're going to try this out, take advantage of me being on the West Coast, and see if we do this week to week going forward. If you're joining us on Twitter or X, please come on over to our YouTube channel at CFB Express. You'll see a link at the bottom of the show momentarily. And get your comments in. Let us know about any of the games that were important to you, things that surprised you, things that just shocked you, and things you're just possibly pissed off or maybe you're thrilled about. With that, I'm going to bring in one of my partners in crime from the College Football Mafia, Daniel Gygax. Daniel, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Also, UCLA is playing competent football. Yeah, I saw the hat.
You know, that's the better half of my house is a UCLA grad.
Yes, so, she is.
So, you know, it is the second. It's the first team for half the house, second team for the other half of the house.
They're playing competent football, and if you would have told me that 3 weeks ago, I would have had you drug tested.
You know, I mean, we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
Let's make sure, because there are still 3 games going on that have a ton of potential consequences to the Big 12 in particular, but also the G5, G6. I don't really, have we officially said we're moving to G6? I don't know. I know we should be, but I still haven't yet. With Boise State out there, so let's add that to the stage right now, and let's just get a quick look on where the 3 games that are going on right now that have consequences. There's still another game to kick off in Hawaii, which we can also.
No, it just kicked off.
But right now, in the Big 12, we have BYU at Arizona.
Yes.
BYU just kicked a field goal to cut the lead to 7, but with 4:08 left to go in the fourth quarter, we have potentially the next upset of the day of a top 25 team potentially going down. Arizona leads BYU 24-17. I know we have a lot of Big 12 people come over to this channel. There's certainly a ton over with Bomber and Ute and Moen and Daniel and the team on the Mafia side of the equation. I don't even want to know how Bomber is feeling right at this particular moment.
I know Ute's feeling pretty happy right now.
Sure Arizona State's feeling doubly happy right now. But what are you thinking about where we are with this game before we go through the other 2 and then talk about what's already transpired, Daniel?
The BYU game. God, the only way that the Big 12 was going to get 2 in is if they had 2 undefeated or 2 1-loss teams at the Big 12 championship. And if they're going to beat each other up, it's going to be ugly quick. Iowa State lost today. Arizona State's just getting hammered right now by Utah. It's going to be like a worst case scenario for the Big 12. It's going to be one school that maybe a 9-3 to 10-2. I mean, it's not pretty.
It's like the Big 12 is doing Big 12 things.
Yes,
you know,
they
one
are.
thing that has stuck with me was just succinctly put by Wild Ute a couple of months ago on one of the shows over on the CFB Mafia, is the fact that it's not the thing that people love about the Big 12, the national pundits, the non-Big 12 specific fans necessarily, people like me, is that it's total chaos and you really have no idea what's going to go on from week to week, and they beat each other up. And Wild Ute has always said that's not really a great thing for the Big 12, because everyone keeps cutting each other down, and it feeds right into what you're saying. Now, fortunately, Texas Tech played with their food a little bit today, because there was a moment after going out to a big lead that Kansas was coming back and almost could have tripped up the one team that's above in a tier. But now what you're kind of in a little bit like ACC last year zone, right?
Yes.
Where you need, whoever meets Texas Tech, assuming things go to chalk, to then
Yeah.
beat Texas Tech as an
Yeah.
undefeated team. Right? That's what the Big
Undefeated
12
or one
needs.
loss. Undefeated or one loss. SMU had one loss, lost
Right.
to Clemson. Both of those teams got in.
But something pretty clean
Yes,
to
something like
happen.
that. Yeah.
And right now, I'm sure tomorrow when the polls come out, um, you have to absolutely assume that you're probably going to lose two teams from the top 25. BYU might drop. There have been 9 and 10 point drops. I don't know
Yeah.
if they'll drop, but I wouldn't be surprised that they drop if they wind up losing this game.
They'll probably still be in. Utah might go back into the top 25 because that's a solid Arizona. They might swap places because Arizona State's 21, Utah. They were receiving votes last week, so they might get in. It's just a mess with the Big 12, and it's always a mess.
Yeah, and it's not getting any better for them, for sure. So we'll see what happens there. We'll continue to monitor that game for the next 4 minutes on clock time, however long it's going to take to actually end. Back over onto the Utah side of the equation. Right now, we're at halftime in that game with Utah up 21-3. Without Sam Levitt, you have a vagabond quarterback, former Georgia Tech quarterback, manning the reins for Arizona State, and it's probably going about as well as people might have expected in that one. So, Utah State. Utah is stating their case to be the number 2 team in the conference, with Iowa State losing and TCU losing, and who else lost of material consequence today that was in the 1-loss zone. So Utah's obviously got that loss to Texas Tech already, and we could take a look at the standings. But should this score hold up, that's probably what your order is going to be. Is the top 2 ranked teams will be Texas Tech way up ahead of anybody else, and Utah probably still in the 20s, give or take. A lot of season left to go, but that's kind of the thing.
It hasn't even hit middle of October yet. There's still, Becky saying, only one Big 12 school. I think Utah will be ranked tomorrow. I think BYU will still stay in the top 25.
Utah should be ranked. I think that they were in like the 26th or 27th
something like that. I can't remember.
Votes last week.
Yeah.
So that's wild. And the other game of consequence right now is Boise State, who's up only 3 on New Mexico.
Yes.
Transitive theory of college football doesn't really apply, but kind of applies because New Mexico brings it. New Mexico could almost be the top of the Big Ten by transitive theory.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But here's something else on that. Navy, who was undefeated, another AAC American team that was undefeated, they lost today.
I didn't even see that.
Hold on,
Navy lost.
And
UNLV almost lost. They escaped by the skin of their teeth to Air Force by a missed field goal that would have tied.
Yeah, I was watching that game. That game was wild. No, I take that back. No, Navy pulled it out against Temple. I was watching that game and I flipped over. So Navy is still undefeated. They beat Temple today.
So the G6 story is definitely yet to be told. USF looked amazing on Friday night.
Yep.
So got to give them credit. They went into North Texas and they had their own kind of statement win. It feels like the winner of going to the college football playoff from the G6 is likely to come from the American Conference. I think there's still an outside chance for somebody else like an Old Dominion, actually, who has one of the higher percentages in the All-State Playoff Predictor thing that ESPN has, or UNLV to make it. I still think it's a big challenge for Boise, and if they win the Mountain West, to wind up being ahead of an American Conference champion with the 2 out-of-conference losses they have, including 1 to USF. But we'll see. But I guess the first thing we got to settle is, all right, BYU's got the ball here, so let's. But it's fourth and or BYU's about to get the ball. There's always a little bit of a lag here with Streamcast. I've been noticing as I've tried to
reset that on Old Dominion. They lost to Marshall today.
Oh,
I mean, they got beat bad by Marshall.
I did not see that. I did not see that game.
I watched the game for about 30 seconds because my brother went to school at Marshall. 48-24.
Yep, so you can definitely take them out. So you're almost guaranteed, it's as you would have expected, that it's going to be an American Conference team or a Mountain West. But I think there's 2 or 3 options from the American and probably only 1 for the Mountain West. And UNLV is as close to being 0-6 as a 6-0 team could possibly be.
Yeah, like I said, I watched that UNLV Air Force game, and it seemed like every single time you turned around, somebody scored. Somebody had the lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody had 9 lead changes like before the fourth quarter. I believe that game was nuts.
Well, BYU has enough timeouts. They have enough time here with the 2-minute timeout coming.
Yeah,
they're on the Arizona 42, 2nd and 5, to try to at least tie the game up. I would assume that if they were to score a touchdown, they'll go to 1 and push into overtime. But though there are some coaches who will go for 2 and try to take overtime out of the mix. It's been a long day of watching football. It's been a great one.
Kalani Sitake is one of those guys that will.
Yeah, I don't think we can
predict go for
that.
2.
We can't. I don't think we can predict that if BYU does score here, that it's automatically they're going to play it safe and go for overtime. I think we have some time to figure that out. Becky, thank you for the super chat. Do Navy, Tulane, USF, and Memphis play each other? Let's see.
Oh God, I'm
going
to have to look.
do,
Becky,
but not
you're making
all
me
of them
do homework.
Not all of them do. I'm pretty sure that USF and Memphis do. But let's check while we're watching. Dan, you keep your eyes on the BYU, and I'll pull it up.
Okay.
So Memphis does play. Memphis does not play USF, so we definitely have that. Memphis plays Tulane, and Memphis plays Navy. So they're going to take care of business in one way or the other. Let's just scroll this back up. So Navy, USF and Memphis have a possible non-playing each other in conference collision into the American Conference. Memphis for sure plays Tulane and plays Navy. Let's see. Actually, I apologize. I just missed it. Memphis plays. It's weird. I'm looking on this. The reason it threw me off, and I'll click on South Florida schedule and go to another site. On the ESPN site, Memphis has South Florida on their schedule with a TBD date, which doesn't make any sense. So let me see.
Some of the times they'll flex that to a Friday.
It doesn't have a good date. It doesn't have a good day. Yeah, maybe that's it. But
yeah,
maybe that's the reason. But it's throwing me off. Yeah. So USF and Memphis are theoretically supposed to play sometime between October 18th and November 6th, according to ESPN schedule rankings. Let me look at some other site just to make sure that there isn't some weird thing going on as we're talking about that. South. FBS schedules is being slow. All right.
To answer Becky's question about where the Army Navy game is the week after the conference championships and everybody and all the bowl games are picked and stuff like that, that could make things very interesting whenever it comes
October
down
25th is USF in Memphis. So it looks like the American, they are going to have chances for somebody to beat everybody, for everybody to beat each other, right?
Okay.
And whatever tiebreakers come in, there could be round robin beatings, but Navy, so we'll have to see what happens. But in theory, we might be in tiebreakers, but not because they didn't have head to head, I guess is the thing.
Yeah.
Unlike the American Conference. So we're down to 209 in BYU versus Arizona. We should probably stick with these things for a second while that plays out. Let me pull up the Big 12 standings while we're in Big 12 moments, waiting for the for the BYU and Arizona game to either be ended or go into overtime. So let's pull their schedule up.
This is the last four for Navy: at Notre Dame, South Florida at Annapolis, at Memphis. Then they have that 1 week off, and then the Army-Navy game.
Right.
So
and Cincinnati will be ranked this week for sure. They were definitely just outside as well, so they probably maybe have a better shot of with their victory of jumping into the rankings. But you definitely gonna have Iowa State leave the AP poll. You're looking like Arizona State's going to fall out. BYU is a potential fallout, maybe or drop down to the very hanging on. Texas Tech should, at a minimum, probably jump 2 spots this week up, right? They will probably jump ahead of Oklahoma. They will probably jump ahead of Oregon, because Oregon wasn't a close. It was a good game, but it wasn't a close 1 point last second final score. I think Texas Tech will be rewarded as a dominating team, even if it's in the Big 12. So that's kind of where things stand. Houston won again as well. A lot of time left. Like, we're all talking about the speculation because that's what you do. People say, "Why were you thinking about it?" Because that's what we do.
Because half the season's over. We just hit halfway.
Yeah, but the conference races aren't. That's like the thing that makes it complicated, right? Is that you could have had an 0-4 non-conference thing and go undefeated in your conference race, and you're probably going to the title game with an 8-4 record. So it's 31 now for BYU. 1:14 left to go on the Arizona 27. Obviously, a field goal does nothing for them whatsoever. So let's switch over to this screen again. So we put that up and see how this all plays out here in the last 1:15. And then we will definitely get into the huge games of the day.
I'll be honest with you, with Cincinnati, I had them towards the bottom. I did not think that they were going to be all that good this year.
They're the Arizona. Look, I mean, first of all, if we're going to judge everyone on our preseason predictions, last year everybody had Arizona State wrong. So maybe Cincinnati's just wearing that. Preseason conference predictions, almost everybody had Texas and Clemson up there in one form or another. Penn State was usually, for almost everybody, was no worse than third in the Big
I think there
10.
were a lot of people that had Texas Clemson in their championship game.
And Becky's right. Like, we're getting to the point where people who say the regular season is getting diminished. I understand that take, but I think Becky's closer to being right, where you're already in playoffs. You're just in regional versions of it, right? But nobody's truly dead yet, unless you have 3 losses in conference. There's a very big possibility of carnage within the conferences that mitigates all of that. 2nd and 4 we have for BYU. They're on the Arizona 8, so this is definitely getting interesting. If you're over our necks, come over to CFB Express on YouTube. Get in the chat. I'd love to know everybody. Let's assume BYU scores a touchdown here. Do you think their head coach, who is not risk averse, is going to tie it and play it safe and put it into overtime, or goes for 2 and tries to win it? Let me know in the comments if you're in the YouTube channel. If you're not, great reason to come on over, check out the channel, hit like and subscribe, and at least comment about what you think BYU will do if they score, which it looks like they may have just done. Waiting for the signal. BYU thinks that they've scored. A pass, a very low pass. So looks completed, but maybe the angle we're getting isn't good enough for us to see that it maybe hit the ground. So we don't know if it's been ruled incomplete or not. It's under review, just to make this more crazy than ever. I'm not listening to the audio.
I've seen Kalani Sitake do the unusual to risk it to win, and there's a reason why BYU is paying him as much as they're paying him.
Boise State takes a 10-point lead as they just scored a touchdown while we're waiting for the review here. If I can't hear I'm not listening to the announcers on the BYU game to hear what it says. I'm trying to catch the replay out of the corner of my eye here. I can't tell, but I haven't been watching closely enough to whether the ball was moving, but it looks like his hands might be underneath the ball. I think it probably hit the ground and bounced up, though, if I'm looking at it closely. That last little one. He had his hands underneath it, but I think the edge of the tip of the ball, I think, hit and will be ruled incomplete. So if that's the case, then I believe we are on 4th and 4 with 55 seconds left to go. Ball in the Arizona 8. They can get a first down, but it will be definitely a key final play here, one way or the other. We're still waiting for the review. Yeah, Becky, I think you're right. I think it's going to be incomplete. I'd be very surprised if it's not, Daniel.
I'd love to see where the ACC has the look in for the ACC replay facility. I'd love to see every conference do that.
Yeah, it's the only thing the ACC has probably ever done right.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Even if they get it wrong, at least you know why they got it wrong, right? The transparency of it is probably when the ACC's maybe dead, though apparently now there's speculation that some conferences may or may not expand. I don't really want to get into it. I'm having a hard time dealing with the business aspects of college football in the middle of one of the best college football seasons ever. I just don't have the juice for it. I might also be a little bit jaded because right now all I give a crap about is that my school is number 2.
Yeah, and we'll stay at number 2 because they didn't play.
And we'll stay at number 2. I actually think that I think Ohio State's a really great team. I think there's a clear, definite distinction between them, but I'm not that impressed with the Illini. So I still don't know what to read into Ohio State other than I'm quite convinced they have a great defense. Even Oregon, even the Indiana victory over Oregon, which I think is impressive, to be clear. Hold on.
Oh, you're
Fumble
kidding.
BYU. I did not see who recovered. Oh, my. They recovered. Wait, so did they just, Becky, if you're listening to that game, so did BYU fumble and actually recover to get the first down? Is that what just happened in the BYU game? They fumbled and recovered enough yardage to get the first down by fumbling forward.
I think
that's what did. I'm thinking. I'm seeing because we got 1st and goal. Wow. Somebody tweet at or X, whatever you want to call it. It just sounds better to say tweet. Somebody tweet at Bomber to make sure he's alive. That's unbelievable. I would be breaking things right now if I was a BYU fan. 1st and goal, 47 seconds left, 1 timeout in hand. They have plenty of time to basically call any play they want. Meanwhile, Utah has extended their lead. They're up 28-3 with 6:51 to go in the 3rd quarter. So that one's looking more and more in hand. And I think there may have been a turnover as well in that game. They may be reviewing whether his knee was down, but it looks like looks like Utah recovered up 28-6.
Yeah.
All right. On 1st down, we have a flag on the play. It looks like we might have pass interference or defensive holding. which you really have no risk if you think you're going to get burned. They're definitely defensive holding, pass interference doesn't really matter. You're going to get 2 more yards. I mean, you can keep pass interfering all day long if you really want, if you're Arizona.
Because it just runs the clock down.
It just runs the clock down, and there's essentially no difference between the 2 yards and at this point. Other than right now, BYU still has time to do a couple of running plays with the timeout that they have. They're not at that point where that would be dangerous clock management-wise, and they are going to try to do that right there. Quarterback keeper up the middle, gets stuffed. They probably got back to the line of scrimmage, so it'll be 2nd and goal, 33 seconds left on the clock. New Mexico is driving in the game with Boise State. They are moving downfield, so that game is definitely not over yet. Trying to get some of the audio here so I can hear it in the background.
Be careful, the mouse might get you.
Oh yeah, it's not. I can hear it in the left ear, but I don't think it will get into the microphone. So we got 2nd and goal. We got 33 seconds left to go in the BYU game. Timeout, BYU. So that's their last one.
Yeah.
It's not like they need to come in and line up to kick a field goal. So
no, they could pass it 2 or 3 times, and
they can pass it 2 or 3 times, and if they're smart, they can run it one more time too. But they just have to be really ready with their next play. They can't be slow getting off the pile. I'm not suggesting they do that, but they can do a run pass option probably. Just they can't be anybody jerking around,
or just do a tush push.
They're a little too far back.
Well, look.
All right.
Pass. Yeah, they're a little too
broken up. So it'll be 3rd and goal, 29 seconds left to go in the BYU Arizona game. Still in review in Utah and Arizona State about whether it was a fumble or not.
I don't think it matters.
No, I don't think it does.
I don't think it's going to really matter there.
Though I will say it is 28-3.
Yeah.
And that score is very familiar to me for 2 reasons. There's a Super Bowl that was 28-3 at halftime.
Yes, there was. And
Miami and FSU is 28-3 before they put 19 points on in the 4th quarter, though. One of those games was
there was about
deal.
that much time left on the clock in the 3rd quarter with that 28-3 Atlanta.
Yeah.
I remember that Super Bowl because my brother who lives in Atlanta, I'm texting him and I'm like, so you're going to go to the parade? It's like, hold up. They're going to screw. Well, I'm not going to exact words, but they're going to screw this up royally.
BYU is going to get another set of downs here with another pass interference. So
it doesn't matter.
1st and goal on the 1 yard line. But with 24 seconds passing, you can run 4 plays in 24 seconds passing the ball with no timeouts. So it matters in terms of plays, right? Not so much the yardage.
Yep. Hold on. I'm trying to see. Ooh. Maybe tush.
It's still from the 2 yard line.
Yeah, about. Yeah. I was about to say touchdown.
All right, so let's see. BYU gets in, 19 seconds left to go, down 1. I'm thinking they're going to play it safe. Daniel, what do you think?
I'm thinking safe.
Anyone in chat, if you're over on X, come on over. Do you think that in the 30 seconds we got here, BYU going to go for 2? I think it's going to stay safe and go for overtimes. So we're going to get some free football again.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of people in chat, Becky's pretty happy. UW won and Puddles lost today.
No, they're lined up. They're lined up for the extra point for the kick.
Yeah. Okay.
Extra point is good. So we're gonna see a kickoff here. But
Yeah.
while we're waiting, because it looks like we're probably gonna be in a second where we get all the rules and the all the good fun stuff. Let's talk about. I mean, we can talk about the bad stuff, but let's just talk about that. Kurt Signetti goes into Oregon on game day. Statement victory. Probably told people to go Google his words. What did you think about Indiana going to Oregon and beating Dan Lanning?
Shocked. I I had Oregon a playoff team in the semifinals going pretty deep, and they choked. Absolutely choked in their building. And this is a good Indiana team, but do I think that they're the best in the Big Ten? They're starting to make a statement that they are, especially Penn State losing. I mean, there was a tweet out there, and I double checked it on there. Kurt Signetti in the past 3 weeks has won 2 games against top 10 opponents. James Franklin has won 2 in the past 9 years that he's been there. Indiana,
that's a wild stat, right?
yeah, Indiana really, really, really. I'll be honest. I remember whenever his dad was coaching there at WVU. Whenever I was a kid, I remember whenever he was. This is going to be funny. This is the second time that Kurt Signetti's been at a school called Indiana. He was at Indiana University of Pennsylvania as a head coach too. So this is his second run at an Indiana school. His dad, his brother, Frank Signetti Jr., even Kurt Signetti, they are famous in Western Pennsylvania for what they've done at Indiana, at California University, which is just north of Pittsburgh. They're just really famous throughout Western PA for what they've done at small colleges. Kurt Signetti took the job at JMU. Really shocked that he took the job at Indiana, and he's made Indiana a powerhouse. What is it? He's less than 20 games into his tenure there, and he's lost what? 3 games?
He's lost. He's lost.
2.
Well, he lost 2 games last year. He
lost 2 games last year.
He got crushed in 2 games, but he only lost 2 games.
Yeah. Not bad. That's what you want.
Absolutely. And, to be clear, I saw some people saying, well, that stat about them having top 10 victories in the last 3 weeks, well, Illinois is not there anymore. That's not how they count it. The good or a bad, right? Good or a bad.
Yeah.
When people are referring to it, they're talking about when you played somebody that week. Yes, they certainly can go back and retabulate later on how many teams you beat on the current top 25. But when they're giving that stat, their common reference is at the time what were the rankings. When the College Football Playoff Committee is looking, they're looking at it differently. They're going to look at it from how many people on our top 25 on our college football playoff rankings have you beat in the top 10, in the top 25, whatever it might be. But people are comparing apples to apples. They're not. People want to do the whole thing of like they're not currently ranked. But that's not the frame of reference that you use in that particular stat. There is a different one, which is current, teams that are still ranked, because that shows you what happened towards the end of the year. But at the time, that's what it was, right? And the strength of record is another thing that is measured.
Yes.
Look, Fernando Mendoza gets credit for that victory for Indiana. He did not have a particularly great game. In fact, he almost cost his team the game at one point. But he did come away from the victory, and you got to give him credit for that. This is another weird one for me where I'm pretty positive that Indiana's a very good team. I'm pretty positive that Oregon's a very good team. But I'm not as sure of how great either of them are because I don't know what to think of Oregon's victory over Penn State anymore, and that's the only other team that they've played that
True.
matters, right? It's the same thing that kind of felt about Ohio State, about Texas. Now I feel a little bit better about Ohio State's victory over Texas because Texas is looking a little bit better. So my judgment changes with new information. Indiana, like, I don't know what I think about the Illini at all anymore. Like, I don't think they're a bad team, but do I think they're a very good team? I don't know. They're probably an okay team when it's all said and done. But that's why we get weeks and weeks of this, and that's why some people get very upset about preseason rankings. Though I do think the AP has done a better job this year in being more volatile. I don't know if 10 years ago Clemson, Penn State, and Texas would have all been out as of last week.
Now,
right?
this was a couple of years ago, and I can't remember who wrote it. And he used to be an AP writer. He was a beat writer for some team in the Midwest. I want to say it was Michigan State. And he was retired, and he talked about it, that a lot of the writers, if they're a beat writer, they pay attention to the game that they're at. They'll watch a little bit of whatever game is on TV there in the press box. They'll watch like the national game of the week, but they don't get a chance to watch that many. But the thing is, where you've got 60 some voters, that should cancel out a lot of biases that you have. Problem is, names still stick whenever they hear the name Notre Dame, whenever they hear the name Texas or Michigan or Ohio State, they automatically want to go ahead and vote them up. The college poll is just as rough because that coach spent the night with his team. He did all the pregame. He coached that game. He did all the stuff post-game. He might watch one other game that weekend.
Right.
That vote's usually given to somebody on the sports information director staff. So
yeah,
I mean,
why, that's one's a little bit more dicey for sure.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you average that out too, it's still the big names on there. But I remember for a long time, Steve Spurrier, where he got to start coaching at Duke, always gave Duke one vote at the beginning of the year, preseason beginning of the year. They got a 25th place vote by Steve Spurrier. Just because that's how he got to start. And he said that he keep voting them 25 until they lost, and usually that was week one.
Oh, man. But it'll be interesting to see. There should be a lot of movement tomorrow in the poll. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. We are in the overtime section right now. We're 2nd and 7 for Arizona. They got the ball first on the BYU 9 handoff, and he goes in for a touchdown.
Yep.
So, but there is a flag on the play. So we will see whether that seems like we probably got a holding on that play, but not sure yet. Waiting for that call. Yep, holding on Arizona. That is coming back. It'll be 2nd down, and they will lose a decent amount of yardage there. So, I believe I think will be a 2nd and 14 for Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. 2nd and 11.
11.
Yep, that was definitely holding. It was almost assault. It was getting closer and closer to assault the longer that play went on.
Yeah. Oh, and Becky's talking about eyeball tests and stuff like that. There, you also have like the scoreboard games. Like, let's say that, let's say Texas A&M is playing UTEP, and Las Vegas has them as a 20-point favorite, and they go out and run up the score on UTEP. They need to do that just so that they can get more eyeballs on the team. You see, James Franklin's one of them. They're touchdown.
James.
Boise.
Yeah, Boise State just scored again, so they're up.
Yeah.
They're going to be up 34-17 with 7.5 to go. They're putting that one away. It's 3rd and 10 for Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Pass over the middle. It'll be 4th and 3 from the 5-yard line.
All right.
I mean, they think they're going to have to kick the field goal here.
Yeah. But that's the thing. You also want the James Franklin will always, he's like, good teams win, great teams cover. He knows what the point spread is. He will go ahead and absolutely run the score up just so that he can make a statement.
Yeah, I think James Franklin's made a different kind of statement the last 3 weeks.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think he wishes he could even just win the game, let alone run up the score. Field goal is good from Arizona, so BYU knows what they need to do. The benefits of getting the ball second in the first round of overtime, touchdown will win the game. Field goal, they can go on to the second overtime. Boise State game is looking like that's going to wind up with a Boise State win. You know, taking a massive comeback, 17 points in 7.5 minutes. So don't think New Mexico is likely to have that in them. You know, Arizona State did score, so they have cut the lead to 20-10, but still Utah ball, midfield, 3rd and 8. You know, should Utah not convert here and go to and have to kick off to Arizona State? Yeah, look, if Arizona State were to score on this next play, it gets a little bit interesting, but Utah still got that game pretty much in hand, and you do not have Sam Levin, and you certainly don't have Scatteraboo in the backfield. So
no,
I would be surprised if that were to turn around. But then again, this season has been full of surprises, so one never knows.
He looked pretty good. Scatteraboo looked pretty good for the Giants there Thursday night.
Did. All right, BYU will be 2nd and 10. There's again another lag with the GameCast from ESPN, which happens constantly. It's very frustrating. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard to do that. Let's just refresh it and see if we get lucky. But it is 2nd and 10 at the 25 for BYU. Ignore what's on the screen right now because there's a lag. Had an option there to pitch it, got nothing. Actually, probably lost a yard there. So it'll be 3rd and 11 for BYU. Brockmeyer can't really do anything on that play. So they're putting themselves in a tougher position here for a longer field goal unless they are able to do something here on the 3rd down play.
Oh, did you see the kickoff from Iowa State with where they had the offensive lineman that had to kick off because Iowa State has probably the most injured players of any team in the Big 12.
I did not see that.
Yeah. The guy was like 6'6", 315 pounds. It was the Sickos Committee play of the day.
I'll have to go back and check that. Yeah, Brockmeyer rolls to the right, keeps the ball, is not able to do anything. It's 4th and 13, so BYU is going to have to line up for a game-tying field goal here. I can't even tell. That was earlier in the game. When you're not listening to the announcers and they play a replay that's about the play you're going to do, you're like, was that live? And I just missed it because I looked at the screen. So BYU, 4th and 13. They're going to have to kick a field goal, missed field goal earlier in the game. This will tie it, go into a second overtime where BYU will get the ball first, should they make this field goal or some other crazy play that results in them scoring, ends the game. Interesting stat there. If BYU does go to win this game, they're showing on the screen, it'll be the first back-to-back 6-0 starts for BYU in their history. I would have thought they would have had that happen already, to be honest with you. 45-yard field goal attempt. and it is good. So we
Good.
will go to double overtime. Oh man, this is from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. So wrapping up Indiana, an impressive victory for Kurt Signetti. They're likely going to probably jump into the top 5, is my guess. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see. They have a couple other big games coming up on their schedule. They are playing Penn State, which means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
But you never know, like what could happen. I don't remember whether the Indiana Penn State game is on the road in Happy Valley, which is still a tough place to play despite the last couple of weeks of games there, with Oregon as well. But let's talk about Penn State while we're waiting for the next round of overtime. You have a rumored, I think pretty much confirmed, because I watched a lot of content. I have family that graduated there, and they're feeding me their Penn State, James Franklin hate brigade. They're all done with them. I don't know which fan base is more done with their coach, whether it's Penn State with James Franklin, Florida State's with Mike Norvell, or Florida's with Billy Napier. I want to say that it's probably Penn State this week, but I think it's a tough battle with Norvell and Florida State. But what do you think happens next with Penn State? Because they're probably, whether it's $45 million or $55 million for any school, I don't care how rich you are, that's a big nut to have to buy somebody out with.
Yes.
For a guy who has had a winning record, winning 9, 10, 11 games year over year. What is your sort of sense of what's going on with Penn State, and whether Penn State fans can dream of getting rid of him, but maybe that's a fantasy. It's not going to happen.
I follow a lot of Pittsburgh media where I'm a Steelers fan. And depending on what day of the week it is, they're not happy, or they are happy with Franklin. I mean, you got to think of it this way. Franklin did get them into the playoff last year, whether you right, like it or not. Sure. Same thing with, if you look down at Clemson with Dabo, they went to the playoffs too. Of the 3 that you listed, Napier's probably the one with the shortest leash. He's probably the shortest out the door. I don't know. Maybe Fick will probably be the first one out the door in the Big Ten. That's $27 million per Ryan Willie, and I'm pretty sure that he's probably sourced it. I've heard everything from 45 to 57 million for the buyout on Franklin. So Franklin's buyout's 48.6 million. Thank you, Becky. That's still quite a bit of money.
You think?
Yeah. This isn't a Jimbo situation where they could probably hit up some big time oil billionaire to cut a big check.
Right.
I don't know how that's structured either. I don't know if it's lump sum. I don't know if it's still, he's getting paid out like regular, like he would over the next X number of years. That's the way Jimbo's contract is set up. I don't know. I really don't know. James Franklin was given probably, I wouldn't say the roughest job in the Big Ten whenever he took it over, but it probably was not the most favorable job that he took over whenever he took over. Because you got to remember how bad things were in State College, PA at the time.
Right. Well, they weren't. It wasn't. Didn't he take over from Bill O'Brien though? He didn't really take over from things were bad. He take over from Bill O'Brien going to Houston to take over the Texans job. He wasn't the one who had to follow Sandusky.
No, he didn't. But there was still a lot of baggage there.
Right, but O'Brien didn't get the NFL job leaving Penn State a mess. He got it because he had done things with Penn State. So he didn't have the easiest job, but he didn't follow the whole crisis with the Sandusky and Paterno situation.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien was
BYU
there.
Was 2nd and 8 from the Arizona 11 as they have the ball in the second overtime.
Bill O'Brien, I can't remember, he's there 1 or 2 years. I want to
Yeah,
say
it wasn't super long for sure.
I want to say 2.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So even with him coming in, even after Bill O'Brien came in and resurrected part of the program, they needed somebody that was going to win. James Franklin was at Vanderbilt, turned him into a winner. He's a good coach. And if James Franklin gets fired, there's going to be athletic directors all across the country calling him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Pause there. Bruckmeyer in for a 7-yard touchdown.
Yep.
BYU takes the lead, 33-27, pending the extra point. I believe we're in the second overtime. I don't believe they have to go for 2 yet. I could be wrong about that. I always forget because it changes all the freaking time. But they are up 6 with the extra point to come. And I believe they are actually in 2-point conversion mandated time. So we're waiting for that to happen. Arizona will have one more shot to get the ball back. Utah has scored again, so that is a 35-10 one. You can pretty much write that one off.
Yeah.
So really the only game that has implications for the Power 4 or for the G6 for the likely college football playoff spot still active is the game between BYU and Arizona. Arizona will start on the 25 with first and 10 there. And listen, James Franklin, I think it really comes down to at a certain point the trend is just a reality, right? It's not a fluke. There's something off there. I do want to take a second to wish Drew Aller all the best of luck. He had a season-ending injury. I haven't seen the latest update, but the last I did hear was a broken leg of some type. I don't think it was an ACL, which is better for him. He has played more than 6 games, so he doesn't have eligibility, I believe, for a medical red shirt. So his college career is done. You're not going to see him go in the transfer portal. I feel for him because if the guy had left, you would have had to see what happened at the combine. But if he would have left and didn't want to come back and try to make something happen for Penn State, he probably had a better shot of being a first-round draft pick than the damage that's been done to his perception and now his actual physical well-being. So that kind of sucks for him. I also think that Drew Aller, in the beginning of the season, was kind of looking average, but they were winning. I don't think that Drew Aller was the problem the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you. In fact, he was the least of Penn State's problems in the UCLA game. He was. It was everything around him. He probably gets the blame as the face of the program, but he didn't deserve the degree of grief he got for UCLA. That was his assets or lack thereof around him, and piss poor coaching and a motivated team on the other end. Second down for Arizona. Pass off into the left flat. Short gain. It's going to be 3rd and 5 for them. They obviously know that they have two plays to get the first down, if not more. With down 6 here, they don't have any other options. So they got 2 to pick up 5 and keep this game alive for Arizona.
Penn State was known as linebacker U forever, and that linebacking core, they didn't look good today. They did not look good at all.
They did not. It's the second week in a row that a game with Penn State that I had in the sidebar, small window on like extra computer monitor, streaming it, wasn't paying attention to because I kind of still figured they would beat Northwestern and had to start watching the damn game again because Penn State just keeps under-delivering for what they have.
I watched like maybe 30 seconds of them versus UCLA.
It's 4th and 1 for Arizona. They were just shy of picking it up. So do or die here for Arizona in the second overtime. See what happens here in the shotgun. Deep handoff. Gets the first down. It'll be 1st and 10 from the BYU 13 or 14 yard line. So they still have space to go and get another first down on their way to having to match BYU with a tying score. But also the fact that they can go for 2 and win the game if they are to score a touchdown, since BYU was unable to do so when they had their chance to complete the 2-point play. Yeah, so the Penn State thing is definitely wild. 1st and 10 for Arizona. Drops back to pass. Into the end zone. Thrown deep out of bounds. They were both pretty touchy on that one, but that was the usual things you see. No flag on the play. 2nd and 10 for Arizona. Another game that maybe we can talk about as we're wrapping these things up on the same note is Florida State. Upset by Pitt. What is next for the Knowles and Norvell? I feel for Florida State fans, and I'm a Cane, but I still can feel for them because, man, the roller coaster FSU fans have been on over the last few years is kind of bonkers. You had the massive season of 2023, followed by the complete and utterly ridiculous being left out of the college football playoff. So you have a great year with that hard stop at the end. Then you have the disaster that was the 2-10 season that started off on week 0 in Ireland and never really got better. And without a little bit of luck in the Cal game, Mike Norvell would be over a year, and more than a year, well more than a year of not having won an ACC game. He's still over a year since the last time he did. It's 3rd and 7 for BYU as we continue there. So they got a short gain on 2nd down. They come into this year. They're not ranked, and they have a stunningly great victory against Alabama. Some people questioned Alabama at the time, but I think in the coming weeks after that, FSU gets all the credit, moves into the top 10.
Yep.
Only to lose to Virginia, stays in the top 25. Lose to Miami in pretty convincing fashion despite the scoreboard, if I were to say so myself, and I did.
Yeah.
But still stays ranked, and then loses to a pure freshman quarterback at home to Pitt.
That's not a good Pitt team, by the way.
It's not a good Pitt team. It's not a terrible Pitt team, but it's not a good
WVU
Pitt team.
beat up Pitt fairly well, and that's not a good WVU team this year. So that right there tells you that Pitt Panthers football's not good.
Not good. Yeah, they're mid. They're mid.
I don't even think they're mid.
Yeah, but it's hard to say the same thing with a new quarterback, right?
Eli
the quarterback
Holstein's
has won 2 games, right? So you got to give him some credit there.
It's true. Hold on.
Look, if you're going to give UCLA credit for turning things around the last couple of weeks, you got to give credit for one player changing things up. It's 4th and 7 for Arizona here. So again, they got their backs against the wall in the last game. That really has a lot of consequences potentially in both the Big 12 and potentially the college football playoff lineup. Boys is up 41-17, so that's as done a deal as we thought. Utah's getting the ball back. And they'll get the ball on the Arizona State 40, but that one's 35-10.
Yeah.
Utah taking
pretty well
over.
done.
So all of those games are basically over unless you have some exotic bet going on that you're worried about. But Utah was a 10-point favorite, and they're more than covering that. 9.5, 10-point favorite in that game.
Yeah.
BYU was an underdog in this game, 2.5 points, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they were 2.5. No, they were 2.5 point favorite.
Okay,
hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. 2.5 or 3.5 point favorite going into this game. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
Incomplete. Into the corner end zone. Arizona had a man. Final in double overtime. BYU pulls it out 33-27. What a wild day of games, man. A totally wild day.
BYU was 2.5 point favorite.
Got it. So they covered the spread. They beat Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So they remain undefeated on the year. They're
like
second,
I said, that's a pretty good Arizona team.
Yeah, it's much better than last year. In their second year under their new coach.
4-2. They're now 4-2. Arizona. That's pretty good. They're still a pretty good team. Here's
Utah's
the team. You
Go
want me to
ahead.
tell you the team that's surprising me the most?
Yes, absolutely. Tell me.
UVA. You mean to tell me that UVA, they're 5-1? Who predicted that?
I definitely didn't predict. I think I probably had him like 14th or 15th or 16th or 17th in the ACC without question.
Well, I did the slides for him, so it was. I don't think anybody had UVA over 8th. I don't. Hold on. Let me look at the
And they
slides real
shouldn't.
quick.
They
No,
shouldn't
because
have.
no, it's not like that they were good, but the fact that they're 5-1 just is shocking.
5-1, undefeated in the ACC because their game
Hmm.
against NC State doesn't count. People keep forgetting that it was
True,
scheduled
because yeah,
out of conference, so it doesn't count, and any tiebreakers are within the ACC. Right now, the ACC is pretty clear cut as a Miami, Virginia, Georgia Tech. I believe that Duke remains undefeated in the ACC. SMU also is undefeated in the ACC, but I think there's a pretty clear hierarchy there anticipated. There's a couple, Virginia doesn't really have to play anybody. Georgia Tech and Duke, I believe, play each other next week, so they will settle business
yes,
one
yeah,
way or the other. Miami and SMU play. So there is a
yeah,
scenario where there's 3 undefeated ACC teams within the
yeah,
conference, and you get down to like my mother said this about you tiebreakers kind of thing.
yeah. UVA was their average for the whole entire group for the preseason pick was 12th. They were picked 12th in the conference.
Hey, every conference has one of them this year. I just didn't
How
expect
many
it to
how many
be
people have picked Arizona State last year to do anything?
no
I
one. The
didn't.
same
I
amount of people
didn't.
who picked Cincinnati this year, right? That's when it comes
Yeah.
down to it. Yeah, Virginia is definitely surprising. Let's just take a look at some of these games, and we can wrap it up as we wrap up the night here. And I appreciate everybody who's joined us on X or Twitter. If you can, come over to the YouTube channel, check out CFB Express, give us a like and subscribe. Definitely check out a lot of the stuff that Daniel is doing over on the CFB Mafia channels. You can check out me with Moen tomorrow night, recapping the games in a little bit more detail with a little bit of Mafia Moen flair. I watched a lot of the Texas A&M Florida game that I have up here. Florida came right down and took the lead in that game early. Texas A&M, though, really outlasted them when it was all said and done. Florida, I think, went into a tough environment, played well, but Texas A&M is definitely showing themselves to be a serious contender in the SEC, Daniel.
I would say that they're probably the most surprising team. The team that I would say is the most disappointing is South Carolina. But South
Yeah.
Carolina, if you look at their schedule, it is absolutely brutal. We pulled it up. We had it up for something, and it was talking about. Let's see here. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. They had LSU tonight. They have to go to. Let's see here. They got Oklahoma next week, Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M for their next 4.
What's up, Numbskull News comes in. Penn State is a crazy shit show. Yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
that a little bit. One of the things I look forward to about the fact that it is a shit show is knowing that I don't know if it's tonight or tomorrow, but in the next day or two, that Numbskull News is going to post a video talking about how much of a crazy shit show it is,
Oh,
and
I know. I love his
it'll be
channel.
wildly entertaining, and
I
I'll be hitting
know.
like and commenting on that. Everyone should go check out Numbskull News on YouTube. He definitely is not afraid to say anything. Sorry about your boys at TCU, though, today, man. I know that was not an ideal situation,
Yeah.
but it's totally fine to drown your sorrows in James Franklin tears based off of what he has not delivered for that fan base this year based off of the high expectations that were set there. Yeah, Texas A&M, I think, is definitely impressed for sure. Georgia continues to do enough to win, you know. They beat Auburn in 2010. Another game that I think makes Hugh Freeze's hot seat even hotter. Auburn went out to a 10-0 lead in this game.
Oh yeah.
They had the potential there. There's some controversial stuff towards the end of the first half where you thought Auburn was about to go up 17-0. Instead, it's a turnover. Georgia gets the ball back, and then in typical Hugh Freeze fashion, despite the fact that they had Jackson Dart, not Jackson Dart, you know what I mean, Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold was really doing some good things for them. They completely shit the bed, and Georgia comes back and wins, scoring 20 unanswered points. Again, some controversy there, but there's a lot of excuses there for Hugh Freeze. Georgia, I think Alabama and Georgia personally are both going to beat the hell out of each other in other places. I know they've already played, but I mean within the SEC, I think that probably no SEC teams is going to escape without having 2 losses in conference when it's all said and done. Or maybe Alabama will just get one more loss in conference since they only lost to Florida State out of conference. But Auburn's got a lot of questions there.
Yeah. Florida's 2-4.
Florida is 2-4. It's very sad.
I know you're
I'm devastated.
Heartbroken.
I might go to church tomorrow and pray for them.
Yeah. My sister-in-law is a Florida alum, and last year we all thought that Billy Napier was going to be gone before the middle of the season next year. Florida, when's that Florida bye? We looked at their schedule and we thought that Florida would.
It's in a couple more weeks. It's before they play Mississippi State. TCU is a victim of parity and a bad offensive line. Indiana is a beast. Yeah, I think they might be a beast. They look like beasts today. I just don't know that Oregon is a beast yet because I don't know if because they beat Penn State and Happy Valley, which was what made me think they were a beast because they played really nobody else. Oklahoma State doesn't count, not in 2025 at least.
This is what Florida's got. Florida's got Mississippi State next week. And, of course, this is a Mississippi State team that somehow or another they're 4-2.
They played solid games. Even when they lost by 14, they played solid. They just don't have the talent or the depth necessarily to always be there. But they're going to cause some people some heartaches the rest of the season.
Then after next week, Mississippi State, they've got the bye and then the cocktail party in Jacksonville.
Yeah, K-State needs to be contracted. I was saying that K-State was possibly going to be the 2025 version of like the Coke Zero version of FSU from last year.
Yeah,
but they came back and won a game against TCU though, so like maybe they're not completely going into things though. It certainly has been a disappointing season for K-State. I think the other game that was interesting today for me was USC really controlled that game against Michigan.
Yes.
For sure. It's probably the biggest win of the Lincoln Riley era, or at least since he first got there. Michigan really couldn't get anything going. The game was close until a little bit into the second half, but SC put some closing things on there. So Lincoln Riley with a pretty big win makes it an interesting game. For Notre Dame's very happy because USC won. They probably will be ranked again because they just fell out. They probably will be ranked when they go to play next week. So that was an interesting game for sure. LSU takes care of business against South Carolina, one of the more disappointing teams in the SEC. We've been paying attention to BYU, Arizona. If you're just joining us, Ohio State just continues to roll. Like, took care of business. Their defense is their defense. So they, Illinois put some points up on, but I think Ohio State is still only up to like 40 points the entire season, given up on defense, give or take. So we'll have
I think that was a 14.5 point spread, and I ended up taking. Yeah, I'm thinking, Illinois could probably keep it within 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
Nope, not at all.
Nope.
Ole Miss got some Ole Missing to do. Washington State put up a great fight. That game was in at Ole Miss and was a very close game. Ole Miss, out-talented them at the end, but that was a close call for those guys. It makes me suspect of Ole Miss. I would almost guarantee that Texas A&M is going to jump ahead of Ole Miss based off of that performance and their performance against Florida. So we'll see. Oklahoma, Texas. Let's talk about that quick as well. What was your take there with Mateer coming back? But Texas, kind of handled their business.
Yeah, I'm really. It's. I've seen a couple of Texas games, and this is the first game that Arch Manning looked good. He didn't look super great. He didn't look like the Heisman contender at the beginning of the year, as Mr. Feinbaum called him. I thought he looked really good. He just played a really smart game, and Oklahoma just absolutely just could not move the ball. Maybe that Mateer injury still hurt. Still made it to where they couldn't win that game.
I mean, Texas is still. Arch wasn't terrible last week either. There were other issues again in the game against Florida besides Arch. He wasn't without his issues, but he was not the main cause. Kind of like I would say Drew Aller hasn't been necessarily the main cause of every loss in the Penn State side, in my opinion.
True.
But so Texas is still on life support. Are they out of the college football playoff? No, but they got some tough games coming up still. They're not dead, but they're not exactly, you're not having Paul Feinbaum fly out to Austin and present Arch with the Heisman Trophy next week.
Whoa. He might still do that. He might still do that.
It does means more. Real quick, let's just touch on the rest of these top 25 games, and then let's get out of here. Okay. Alabama, Missouri, great game. Missouri had a chance there to tie it up for the win, interception in the end. Honestly, I think Missouri lost that game more than Alabama won that game. I come away from that game thinking Missouri's a really good team, but not a great team in terms of yes, the best Penn State quarterback might in fact be in Missouri, but it doesn't mean he's a great quarterback right now. There's still some issues there in the game. They took a while to open it up. They were really trying to keep it on the ground. Alabama, played a strong game, but this game just makes me think that Alabama will lose to somebody. I don't know who, but they will lose to another SEC team down the road. Probably is not going to impact their playoff position because there will be some 2 and 3 loss teams in the SEC that likely get in based off of what the round robin beatings will be. But I don't know if you caught much of that game. If you have a take on this one.
I didn't really get a chance to watch it. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was probably one of the better games of the day. It came down to the last series interception as they were driving. Yeah. They were pretty close to being, if not already, in field goal range. So that interception was brutal. But Kalen DeBoer and team continued to recuperate from that now pretty utterly fascinating opening week loss to Florida State, which looks weirder and weirder as time goes by, even though originally it started to look better and better as time goes by. I was only casually watching the Tennessee game, but it is kind of surprising. Arkansas held in there. You got to give it to teams who have the challenges that they have and didn't quit. But Tennessee continues to keep themselves in position, if not for the SEC title game, at least a good chance of making the playoff. Joey Aguilar definitely doing some things for Tennessee there. But shout out to Arkansas on that one.
He looked really good at Appy State last year.
Absolutely. And he's made the best of a crazy situation. So you got to give it up to a guy like that. Georgia Tech, kind of a workmanlike victory over Virginia Tech. Nothing to write home about. I think they covered this. I think the spread on that game was 14.
You're probably right. Yeah.
So, they continue to keep themselves in the right position. Notre Dame takes care of business with NC State. I wonder if Dave Doran's on his last legs, whether he retires or not. This one, and it's a good one to bring Numbskull back in. What a freaking downfall for Iowa State. Yeah, like the model of consistency for the Big 12 over the last years. Maybe not the sexiest team at any given point, but and granted, I know they've had injuries on defense, and they've had really bad injuries on defense. Everybody has injuries. It is what it is. But you know what? Like, you should still probably have beaten Colorado.
Yeah.
And that's not a disrespect that Colorado's in a transition year. Caden Salter had a great game. Shout out to Dion and his team. Like, they're not giving up. It's an interesting year, and you're seeing some heart there in Colorado. They might not be as good as they were last year, but they do have at least something about the culture there that's building. Did you get to watch a lot of that game, Daniel?
Yeah, I watched a good chunk of it. Iowa State was my pick to win the Big 12. And the reason why I said that was they don't do anything wrong and they do everything good. They weren't flashy. Rocco Becht, I thought this was going to be his coming out year. This is going to be the year that everybody's going to sit there and say, hey, this kid is good. And you probably remember his dad whenever he was with the Jets, and I remember his dad whenever he was with WVU. I just thought the kid was going to be, everything was going to go well, and then the injuries just start piling up for Iowa State. Whenever they're bringing out an offensive lineman to do place kicks, you know things are bad. You know things they're so far down on the depth chart.
Yeah, I just didn't expect Iowa State to lose this game. I just thought that they were the team that I thought was most likely going to meet up with Texas Tech when it was all said and done in the Big 12 championship game, and that still could happen for sure. But it was definitely a disappointing loss for Iowa State. A good victory for Colorado. Now that Dion's not playing musical quarterbacks, seem to be settling in to something. I wonder if they maybe blew a game or two here or there with their maneuvering through the quarterback cycle that they did. But
the thing is,
still too crazy to figure out.
Nobody had super massive expectations for Colorado this year. Everybody thought that they would be a maybe mid-pack team.
Right. Yeah, it was their expectations are falling, as are Arizona State. It's now route time, 42-10 Utah over Arizona State. It's all optics, but optics matters in some regards here. Please make sure you follow my friend Daniel Gygax on Twitter, as well as you can check out the things he's doing with the CFB Mafia, especially the shorts that really does a great job on that channel. So definitely give him a follow as we get ready to wrap up here. Let's just check out a few more comments, and then we'll wrap up for any closing thoughts. Tempest is here. Oh my God, we're playing like last year. I'm assuming
FSU guy.
You weren't saying the were. You're saying we are, meaning FSU.
Yes.
I don't know what to tell you, man. The only thing I'll say, really, because I do my fair share of trolling on Florida State when it happens, but usually in response to things. The thing I thought that maybe was a bad sign, and maybe it's me as a Miami fan, when Castellanos was saying that nobody, that we don't really lose, we just beat ourselves after the Miami game. That's not really. I don't think that was a wise thing. It just makes me wonder, what the mindset of the team was when you're saying that. Is well, you're diminishing your opponents and not giving credit where it's due and just talking. And I respect his ability to talk like he did in the preseason and then deliver against Alabama. But that was definitely disconcerting. But 1:30 a.m. he's wearing sunglasses like the sun is in his eyes.
See, I put the picture up for you to see for how bad my eye is. So I don't want to show it on. Yeah, I don't want to show it on.
Daniel decided to get to take care of his eye in sympathy alongside Mike Norvell's black eye tempests. So he was just he's got a lot of empathy, a lot of sympathy. So he didn't like Mike Norvell to just be the only one with an eye issue that no one really understands. So yeah, but anyway. Iowa State, we'll see what happens. The Big 12 remains the chaos conference, but honestly, they're all chaos conferences. The SEC is just as much carnage as the Big 12, right? The ACC is like a little bit stable at the top, right? But there's still multiple undefeated teams, and we are again only into like week 2 or 2 to 4, depending upon your team in conference play. Lots of things can still change. If you think about the fact that 3 of the top 10 or 4 of the top 10 are no longer ranked or will no longer be ranked after this week, including a multiple preseason predictions, 4 more weeks is going to change a whole lot as well, despite what we think tonight. You may not have any undefeated teams when it's all said and done. You may only have 1 or 2, and a lot of 2 and 3 loss teams in the conferences vying for positioning in both conference playoff games as well as obviously the playoffs. And the G6 race might also be its own degree of carnage too, including within the American Conference specifically, which is where my gut says that champion's coming from, which means I'm probably going to be wrong, Daniel.
What's it end up being? Navy. Let's say Navy. Let's say Navy is 11-0. They lose the ACC championship game, but they still have enough to get into the CFP, and then that following week they lose to Army in the Army Navy game, and are 11-2 going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that is very plausible.
It is plausible. I think it's more likely that USF or Memphis and maybe UNLV can be positioned enough to be in the at-large, in the top 12 rankings before the conference championship games to have some kind of wild scenario happen. But again, this season's, I say like the whole college football needs to go to an AA meeting because it's just super drunk. So I don't think that any one of us can really predict anything.
This is 2007 all over again, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
To bring it full circle, as Kurt Signetti said, Google it. You'll understand what Daniel's talking about. Daniel, last things you want to drop before we wrap up here? And again, I appreciate you joining us, and everybody's been watching on Twitter and X and YouTube. Thank you as well.
We still got football going on in the islands. Go Hawaii. It's 17-17 right now against Utah State.
Well, I'm an addict, so I will be turning that on.
It's in the second quarter right now.
For everybody else, check Daniel out on the College Football Mafia. Check me out tomorrow at 5 Eastern. Not Eastern. I don't even know.
5 Pacific.
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the College Football Mafia, Mowing After Dark. And Flo and I will be back for our Aftermath show, 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Till then, take care. If you actually have a pro team that doesn't suck, I don't. Have a good NFL day, and we'll talk to you all soon.